Hello, my most beloved patrons, and welcome to... what was I going to call this video? Go Set a Watchman Conspiracy Dom version. This Patreon-exclusive video is intended to be sort of supplementary to the Lost in adaptation I just did on To Kill a Mockingbird. So if you haven't watched that, some of it might not make sense to you, but basically I was going off on a bit of a tangent about Go Set a Watchman. So much so I had to, cut a whole section of my script out and put it in a separate video, which you're now watching, because, yeah, I have thoughts and feelings about about this whole situation, about the whole Harper Lee writing an incredibly controversial sequel years later, and if you give a shit, here it is. Before getting started, I just want a disclaimer that I am aware it is absolute madness to think that we know the inner thoughts and inner mind workings of a famous person, or that we have any idea what was going on in Harper Lee's head at any point in her life. Like, it's parasocial to think that you know a famous person at the best of times, and it's magnified exponentially when that famous person is, a reclusive. Like, any number of things could have happened that would affect her decision here that we just couldn't know about. Like, her sister's dying words could have been, write a sequel. Or she could have, realized she was running out of money, for all we know. Any number of things. She could have actually genuinely had a complete change of heart. So, this is just someone who doesn't really know what he's talking about's opinion. And that applies to all of us. Anyone who's ever had an opinion on this besides Harper Lee. But just going off what we know, I decided I needed appropriate headwear if I was going to go down this conspiracy theory rabbit hole. So, yeah, buckle up. Yeah, here it is. I personally think that Harper Lee did write To Kill a Mockingbird with Watchman in mind. I think she planned to write and publish Go Set a Watchman, but changed her mind after the reception to the book and the reception to the movie. You got to remember that the movie came out very quickly after the book was published. So I think that she saw, Peck and the filmmakers turn Atticus Finch into an American hero and decided not to have him fall from grace. And I'll tell you why. I kind of saw, because I was reading To Kill a Mockingbird with Go Set a Watchman in mind, I think I saw some evidence in, To Kill a Mockingbird that, like, Lee had written Atticus with the future intent of making him a massive disappointment in mind. I think she may have actually intentionally left some wriggle room regarding his motivations for doing the things he did. I mean, first of all, there's what I said in the main video, that he never really says, I care about this client. He said that I have to learn to live with myself, but he didn't say, we shouldn't be racist at any point. And honestly, there were some straight-up red flags surrounding Atticus that genuinely could have been considered the setup for his fall from grace. I'll try to explain. First of all through the book, Atticus is continuously taking the side of adults over his children when his kids get into an argument or a fight or a disagreement or with an adult. It doesn't matter how much of a point the kids have. It doesn't matter how vile the adult has been, how obviously in the wrong they are. Atticus always sides with the adult. Regardless of the situation, he always takes the side of the authority figure. And it seems like just because they are the adult, because they are the authority figure, he automatically sides with them. Like, I don't know jack shit about parenting, especially not parenting in the 1930s, but just, he never, ever stands up for his children. If there is, no matter how clearly the adults are being massive pieces of shit. And that's... It sucks, for starters. I mean, I'd hate it if my parents never stood up for me or never were willing to listen to my side of things and just automatically sided with complete asshole adults, But it also, I think, is indicative of Atticus's approach to life. And related, but much, much worse. Okay, think about this. Think about the fact that his first instinct, when he believed that his son had shanked a dude to death, right? His first instinct was to be concerned about protecting due process, not protecting his son. Like, the sheriff really had to give him the hard sell before he backed off.
I'm not a very good man, sir, but I am sheriff of Macomb County. Lived in this town all my life, and I'm going on 43 years old. Know everything that's happened here since before I was born. There's a black boy dead for no reason, and the man responsible for it's dead. Let the dead bury the dead this time, Mr. Finch. Let the dead bury the dead.
Like, I don't think I'm crazy for thinking, like, this hints towards a man who would only fight for morality when morality happens to align with the rule of law. Like, Atticus was being painted as a hardcore, lawful good character. If he believes that this is, if he believes that this is what the law states, he will do it no matter what anyone else tells him. For instance, when an innocent man is accused of sexual assault, and by rights he should have been cleared by the overwhelming evidence to the contrary, but because of racism, it had gone to trial. That is, like, if you're in that mindset of, I'm going to obey the letter of the law, then, by this point in US history, straight up murdering black people for no reason was illegal. So that's a very good reason for him to do what he did. But the problem is, that's only good from a morality's perspective when, like, the rule of law, it happens to align with it. If he believes that the rule of law is on the side of, say, states' rights to not desegregate, and, to do all sorts of horrible things, then he would fight for that just as hard. And, like, that still doesn't necessarily paint him as a racist. It just paints him as taking the side of the rule of law no matter what no matter what other factors are involved. And you could say, well, then, okay, maybe that's a damn shame, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's setting him up to be a racist. And in other parts of the book, in To Kill a Mockingbird, he shows clear compassion for Tom's family and, the black community. But, like, the thing is being kind to black people when they are staying in their lane doesn't prove Atticus isn't racist. In Watchtower, it's made pretty clear that he's the kind of racist that he doesn't hate black people, he just doesn't think that they're as good as white people. He just doesn't think they should be allowed to mix with his race. So, yeah, it's in that kind of racist head, it's put, as long as black people are staying away from white communities, then he has no issue with them. So there's nothing really in To Kill a Mockingbird that contradicts that. And, like, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a worse kind of racism than just the people who straight up acknowledge that they hate other races. But, like, it's certainly more insidious. I personally almost find it more disturbing sometimes when someone's just, like, calmly explaining that they just, obviously whites are superior and obviously, like, black people aren't ready to join the white community. They're just too inferior. That almost, like, just upsets me more to hear sometimes, because at least the open fucking KKK kind of racists have the honesty of purpose, even if they're still the worst of humanity. So yeah, like I said, if you read To Kill a Mockingbird with the foreknowledge that, Go Set a Watchman exists, you can find some setup for it, I think. And again, maybe that's just results bias on my part, but, like, I don't think there's anything in To Kill a Mockingbird that would straight up refute anything from Go Set a Watchman. And that's kind of why I think maybe she had intended to write, or she was giving herself the option to write this sequel when she wrote Mockingbird. But, then she didn't. She didn't write Go Set a Watchman. She had 55 fucking years to write and publish Go Set a Watchman. And in every single one of those years, she chose not to write Go Set a Watchman. Oh, this is actually quite itchy. I think I might just let the aliens read my thoughts. Because, yeah. But yeah, the only reason that Go Set a Watchman exists is because someone else took this draft and edited it and wrote it to be a standalone story and published it in her name. Like, 89-year-old Harper Lee certainly wasn't writing this from scratch. So, like, she did not, from a certain point of view, she never wrote this book. So like, that's a big old asterisk next to, written by Harper Lee to start with. And like, regarding that, all I can really say is, being pronounced technically competent to make the decision at 89 years old is not the same thing as saying that she would have made this decision before she was geriatric, or before she had a stroke, or, while her sister was still alive and protecting her from external pressure. All that investigation, that human resources investigation into elder abuse revealed, is that technically she was still she still retained enough of her faculties to agree to let her publishers do the things they did. That doesn't actually prove that this was ever her plan. And it just seems just utterly wild to me to think that someone who's pushing 90 would suddenly have an about turn on not, wanting this book to be standalone. Because, and again, going back to what I said at the beginning, there's 1,000 things that could have changed that we just don't know about. And I could just be talking completely out of my arse. But with the information we have, it seems just ludicrous that Harper Lee ever intended for this to be the sequel. And so yeah, that really is where I've landed on this. I genuinely think that she was at least keeping Go Set a Watchman in mind when she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. But I, with my whole heart, believe that she changed her mind about doing it. Because, yeah, I think she saw that the film version of Atticus Finch, or the way that people had interpreted Atticus Finch from her novel, was more important than the moral of the story in Go Set a Watchman, that you have to let go of your heroes and you have to accept that people can be flawed. Especially considering it was 2015, because like maybe in the 1950s when she wrote the book, this guy's a white supremacist could be considered a flaw instead of like detestable. Maybe it's like, well, Atticus is good in some ways, but he's kind of a racist, but I can accept my father for who he is. Maybe that was like more of an understandable mindset way back then, but these days, obviously being a white supremacist is really should be the lowest bar for deal breaker when it comes to, people. So again, yeah, the idea that in 2015 it's more appropriate to publish Watchmen is crazy talk. So yeah, that's kind of everything. It's probably not a unique opinion. I'm sure it's been shared a lot. And I definitely won't be the first person to vehemently decide to discount Go Set a Watchman. And maybe if I'm being super honest with myself, some of it is just because it's just a massive bummer. So it's easier to try and come up with reasons why I don't think it's canonical. But I don't know. I think my argument is solid, and I'm going to stand by it unless someone can point out some massive piece of evidence I missed, like whatever. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys, have any thoughts and feelings on this, because yeah, I guess we'll never really know the answer because Harper Lee passed away so soon after all this. So we're kind of just all left to make up our own minds on it. Anyway, the usual, heartfelt thank you for supporting my work and my career and just everything. Really couldn't do any of this without you guys. Hopefully this wasn't incoherent or boring, and I'll catch you in the next video.